I am addressing this video to my past self, and I am doing it so that my current self can internalize these ideas a lot better. So let's get into it. The first rule I would say is do not give weight to things that do not serve your purpose moving forward. And what I mean by that is, for example, something will happen, an event, and you can either look at the negative parts of it or you can look at the positive parts of it. And the true power comes from choosing to see the positive side and ignore the negative side as much as possible, because when you do that, your reality then shifts on this fork and goes to the positive side. This is something that when I was doing door-to-door sales really at first was really hard to accept and even implement. And the way this applies to door-to-door sales is when a customer is giving you either smoke screens or objections, you can give them weight or you cannot give them weight. And when you give them weight, it shows the customer subconsciously in the social interaction that they're right, they're winning. This battle here, they're pushing you the way they want you to go, which is off their porch. Versus if they say, "Oh, I'm not interested," you basically steamroll over that, and you're kind of pushing them this way. This isn't about sales, but it's a lesson from sales that I learned. And if you apply it to life, basically not anything that doesn't serve you, you do not acknowledge, and you don't let it take over your mind, basically. When I started kind of realizing that I was in a funk before I started making videos again, I was giving weight to things that were not giving me power in my life. I was choosing to see the negative side of things. So the first rule, do not give weight or let materialize anything that does not serve you. Okay, the second rule is life is a battle of certainty. This is in interactions with people, even animals. This is in law of attraction type stuff. How certain are you that this is going to come to pass? Once again, this is from sales, and you're in a battle of certainty with the customer. They're certain they don't want the product, and you're certain that they do. And so it comes back to this thing where they're trying to push you off the porch, and you're trying to push them to buy. And it's not necessarily like push, like super confrontational, aggressive, but if you're really skilled, it's just very relaxed conversationally pushing them in the direction you want them to go. And the way that I want to apply this to this kind of rules of life thing is, if you aren't certain you're going to get somewhere, I personally think you're less likely to get there. Like, I'm certain that I will make six figures in a year before I'm 25. Currently, I am 21 and a half-ish, a little more, and I'll probably even surpass that, I think. I could also be wrong, but back to rule one, that doesn't serve me, so I'm not going to really believe that. I'm not saying you should be completely delusional. You should always step back and assess the situation sometimes, but most of the time you should just be moving forward and in that mindset of, I'm certain I'm going to get this because of XYZ. If you don't have the proof, then you're delusional. But it's like Alex Hormozy says, you don't become confident by screaming affirmations in the mirror. You become confident by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And so if you are doing the work and you have that proof behind you and you are pushing and you're certain, I think that you will attract the thing to you, and that certainty will help you win. And then also, I am going to start making videos about social interactions and people and kind of psychology stuff. So in that regard, whoever's more certain wins. It's not about how true the statement is. It's about how the person who's more certain says something, in what tone and what words they're using. So be certain in everything that you do. And if you're uncertain, Depending on the situation, maybe step back, but you should try and be certain every time you can. All right, rule number 3, do not show all the cards in your hand. When I first got into sales, I thought that I had to get everything out, the whole pitch before they shut the door. And this most recent time I went out, I learned that's not the case, because if you do that, you will run out of things to say. And if they aren't interested, they're just too shy to shut the door on you, you'll finish and they'll be like, no thanks, shut the door. So you want to give a little bit, one card, and then if like they'll give you a smoke screen or an objection, you swat it away. Give another card. And this applies to business, this applies to interactions, this applies to sales, this applies to I think it most applies to people, so basically sales and other social interactions. Don't say everything that's on your mind all the time. Don't show all of the cards in your hand, like what moves you can make, what maybe even like what connections you have, what friends you have, like how much money you have, etc. Like, don't put all of yourself out there, because then you lose like bargaining chips, you lose the surprise, you lose mystery, which can be leveraged well if you know what you're doing. So try and keep some things to yourself sometimes. Try and give a little bit at a time. If you're trying to convince someone to do something, that's mostly what this applies to, honestly. Give them a little bit, let them say no. Give it honestly like lets them think they're in control of the situation. Give them a little more, let them say no. Give them a little more, let them say no, until you start using more of your cards, and eventually every time they say no, they're giving a reason too, and they're getting rid of that reason out of their stack of cards. And if you have more cards that you just keep playing, they'll run out of reasons to say no, and the only thing left to say is yes, unless you suck at closing. On to rule 4. Number 4 is what you believe will come to be. An example from sales is when they open the door. Actually, this applies to women too. If you're dating and talking to women, they open the door and you automatically feel like, oh, they're gonna rip me apart. They're gonna just take a fat crap all over me. Well, that's going to show in your countenance, your body language, your tone of voice, what words you choose to use. It's going to show everywhere. And that person subconsciously is going to pick up on that and be like, oh, he doesn't mean it. He's not about it. He's not the professional that's going to put me in my place. I'm going to walk all over him, and they do. As for women, it's kind of the same thing. If you walk up to a girl and you try and talk to her, and you are absolutely certain she's going to reject you, you're going to speak to her differently than if you were absolutely certain she wants you. And this is like obviously a little delusional. If you're knocking doors, most people are going to say no. But if you let that get to you and you let the belief that, oh, everyone's going to say no affect you, then when you do show up to the person that's going to say yes, you're going to have the wrong everything and they're going to say no. Same thing with girls. So, they'll still say no, but what you believe is going to affect everything. And then also going back to like kind of moving forward in your life, if you believe something bad is going to happen, or you believe you can't do something, or you believe that, I don't know, anything negative, if you internalize that, it's really going to affect the decisions you make, the thoughts you have about yourself. It's not as drastic as I'm making it out to be, but it is exponential. And so at first, like, you can go this way or this way, and it barely turns at first, but then as it goes, it loops hard. And then it's either really good for you or really bad. So having positive beliefs, going back to rule 1, picking out the right things to allow to materialize in your life, that's going to be instrumental to either your downfall or your uprising, I suppose. The next one is congruence. And so back to rule 4 with what you believe affecting body language, tone, all of that stuff. Congruence is the same way. If you walk up to a door, knock on it, they answer, and you are like pretty aggressive with your pitch and your tone, but your body language is off, it's not congruent. And even if they don't notice specifically, oh, he's doing this with his hands and he's leaning back on this foot and whatever, they will still pick up on you not perfectly lining up, and they'll be like, this is weird, I don't want any part of it, no, shut the door. But if you walk up and you're relaxed and you're confident and you're polite and respectful, they open the door and you just pretty much take the hits and then give whatever you have to give. And your tone, your word choice, your body language all lines up. They'll say at least, like they'll relax because they're like, oh, nothing's wrong with this guy. He's relaxed and I can tell. He's confident. I can tell. I'll at least hear him out. And then same thing for women. Like if you're talking all this talk, but like your actions and how you behave around her is not going to match up, then she's going to be like weird and probably ghost you. And then in business as well, if you're talking all this talk, but then I guess your results don't show, or your actual, because like a lot of people say I'm really good at this or that, but then if they're called into the situation where that's to be tested, they can't really prove it, then people are going to be like, yeah, he's just talking all this stuff and I don't want anything to do with him, and it completely discredits you. So if like you should either be humble and then surprise people, or if you really want to be at the top, you need to make sure everything else in your life reflects that. So like for example, back to dating, if you're a guy and you want to show a girl that you're mature, your room has to be clean. This bed better be made. Your hygiene's got to be in check. Your style, as much as it's annoying and I am just trying to barely now fix my style's got to be in check. You got to be working hard. You got to treat her with respect, but not take her shit that she'll definitely try and give you. All of that together would be congruent in saying he is a mature individual. But if you're trying to act all mature, but then she comes back to your place and it's a mess, your car's a mess, or she doesn't see you for like a week and then you like haven't clipped your fingernails or something, you haven't brushed your teeth, like she's gonna be like, nah. And especially nowadays, they pick up on these things and it's the ick, and then they're done. So these honestly are all sales lessons that I've tried to apply to real life. They do apply to real life. Because despite what anyone will think, I believe life is sales to a degree and life is business to a degree, and vice versa, but maybe that's just me. But if you got to this point and you liked the video, please like it. Just give me a comment with something you liked about it. Maybe share it with someone. It will help boost me. And if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, I'd ask you to subscribe, because this is not one of my best videos. This will not be one of my best videos ever. And I would like you to come along with me for the journey of moving up. So with that, I'll end the video and I'll see you guys in the next one.